Is CM Punk going for gold in his return back to AEW on Saturday night, June 17th, for the debut of AEW Collision? Well, if he has a say in it, he may be going for gold in the way of Bullet Club gold. CM Punk might have chosen Jay White to be his first opponent back in AEW. Now, let's start at the beginning here because there have been a ton of rumors in regards to what CM Punk is going to be doing. Now, Punk is going to be coming back. There are no walkouts. Everybody seems to have cooled off in regards to CM Punk being back on AEW television. AEW has taken measures to make sure that talent do not have any issues with Punk, and the rosters are going to be kept separate. The people that want to work with Punk, they'll be with Punk. The people that don't want to work with Punk, obviously they will be on the other show. One of the ways that this deal came together was Ace Steel being brought back to the company. Now, Ace Steel was fired. He was the only one fired from the Brawl Out situation. Fightful is reporting that while most that they spoke to felt like this situation would not have been blown up as much as it was if Ace Steel wasn't involved, there were numerous sources who said that Steel's skill set was underestimated by many that they've seen online. Steel is seen as a valuable member of the AEW team and was a valuable member of the AEW team prior to Brawl Out as a creative mind and a coach backstage. I know the narrative online during the entire situation with Collision and Warner Brothers Discovery and the announcement of Punk kind of being rescinded during the media upfronts for AEW was that Ace Steel, the one guy that was fired during the All Out situation, he was brought back. He was told that he was going to be back on the road with Collision. Then the report came out that he was going to be working remotely. This upset CM Punk, and a lot of people online were basically saying that Ace Steel was expendable and why Tony Khan and why AEW would have this thing potentially fall apart for somebody like Ace Steel who they can go and replace tomorrow with somebody else. Apparently, the roster and AEW find him to be a valuable member of the team. Now, originally, Fightful were told that there were heavy pitches for Chris Jericho to work with CM Punk, but they have not heard anything new on that front for quite some time. That obviously is still potentially a thing. It could be a thing, but it looks like right now that's cooled off. That may be on hold for CM Punk. Fightful is also reporting that Samoa Joe versus CM Punk was planned at one point, and there were graphics made for that for the Warner upfronts for the debut of AEW Collision. I know Punk and Joe have teased something going on there, which I still hope is in the works still. However, as of late, word is that CM Punk has taken a liking to the work of Switchblade Jay White and that he could be an early opponent or program with CM Punk along with Bullet Club Gold. Now, if you guys watch Dynamite on Wednesday, you will have seen, I would say, I don't know if they're going to do a feud completely with Starks and FTR, but FTR is now involved with Ricky Starks against Jay White and Juice Robinson. Now, it's uneven as Bullet Club Gold does not have a third member, but this could be foreshadowing what's to come for FTR. They could get into a program for the tag team titles with Switchblade and Juice Robinson, or we could just see CM Punk come into the fold and team with FTR against Bullet Club Gold and be their backup against Bullet Club Gold while they go out and get a third member, which right now I'm hearing rumors of El Phantasmo joining Bullet Club Gold, as people were telling me that he was kicked out of the Bullet Club. He may very well end up in AEW joining Switchblade Jay White and Juice Robinson. I don't mind that feud at all if we get a Switchblade versus CM Punk match. I think that would absolutely be great for CM Punk. That shows you exactly where CM Punk's heart is. He wants to go right for somebody he deems that good in Switchblade Jay White. He did that with Darby Allin on his way back to the company, to pro wrestling. After 7 years, he handpicked Darby Allin as his first opponent back in professional wrestling after 7 years. He's doing the same thing with Jay White. That's a big deal. That shows you where CM Punk's mindset is. That shows you what CM Punk is really paying attention to. And that shows you exactly who he thinks is going to be the next big thing and wants to help get over on AEW television. Secondly, the narrative of Jay White being buried by the internet wrestling community, man, those people are going to be looking like fools if this is the case, because that is a mega situation for Jay White to be in. I don't think he'd be buried anymore at that point, working with the top guy in the fucking company, right? I think that's great. Bullet Club Gold versus FTR and CM Punk, take my money. Take my money. I think that's a great beginning feud. Then we can kind of bleed into something that would be a little bit more long-term with Samoa Joe and then maybe Chris Jericho. There is plenty on the plate for CM Punk to do, and starting off with Jay White, that would be a great way to go about it, because Jay White's going to be boosted, and CM Punk is going to be in there with somebody that can absolutely work and test his skills back. Great. I love that. And CM Punk right now has his eyes on Jay White as a potential feud starting out for his return to AEW on Collision. Speaking of the creative on AEW Collision and Ace Steel, apparently CM Punk and Ace Steel are set to be heavily involved in the AEW Collision side of creative. Now, the company has confirmed Punk's return on Wednesday, several months after reports came out that he was on his way back, only for the announcement of Punk's return to be held off due to the status of Ace Steel. Now they will be working together. Steel will work remotely instead of at Collision shows to prevent issues with him and talent. But in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported that the pair will have an involvement on the creative side no matter what. And it should be noted that all the top talent in AEW has a strong say in what they do creatively on television. Meltzer wrote, and I quote, "The belief is Punk and Ace Steel will be heavily involved in the creative of the show. At least they will be for Punk's stuff, and the main angles and storyline on the show will revolve around him, and obviously he will have great input into that." I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that whatsoever. If Punk wants to guide himself and where he goes and what the story is for himself, I trust somebody like CM Punk to do the right thing. I think he has a great mind for the business. I think he's very knowledgeable. I think he has the interest of the talent, some of the talent. And listen, you might not agree, but the talent that Punk wants to work with, he's going to have the best interest of that talent in his heart. I think that's a great deal, as long as it doesn't get carried away. Tony Khan needs to step in and mediate. He can't be letting these guys run the creative side of things. You can't let the inmates start running the asylum. Then things will get out of hand. But I honestly think things are in a good place right now in AEW, and I don't think things are going to get out of control like that. So Punk and Ace Steel taking care of their own business. Punk trusts Ace Steel. That's why he wants him back. And I think this is going to be a great deal. You're going to see long-term booking. You're going to see things that really hold weight on the show. You're going to see legitimacy. You're going to see that sense of realism that has been missed since CM Punk has gone absent. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. So Ace Steel and CM Punk are going to be heading at least their portion of what they're doing on the show for Collision. And I think that's a good idea for CM Punk and his camp. And finally, guys, speaking of CM Punk, the guys that he got into hot water with, we have news on AEW getting more aggressive with contract talks for Matt, Nick, and Kenny Omega as their contracts are coming up at the end of the year. Omega's deal was believed to be slated to expire in late January, but AEW has since extended the deal for the time being because he was out with injuries. It's unclear how much longer he has on the extended time, but WWE is reportedly interested in signing Omega once he's free and clear to talk. Of course they are. In past interviews, the former AEW World Heavyweight Champion said he would be open to going to WWE. Now, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, they have contracts coming up about the same time, and in the latest Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported that the contract talks between AEW and the Elite are still ongoing. Meltzer wrote, and I quote, "AEW is getting more aggressive in trying to get the contracts of the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega completed," end quote. Of course they are. They have a TV deal looming. They're going to get an extension from Warner Brothers Discovery, so it's going to be more money for Tony Khan and AEW to throw around to keep top talent happy and keep them with the company. And it's in AEW's best interests to get aggressive and keep Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks on board with AEW until the end of their careers. This is the biggest year in AEW history. They need these guys going into a brand new 4 or 5 year commitment with Warner Brothers Discovery. They need their nucleus, their heart and soul for All In. They need them there for everything else that's coming up this year. They got the video game coming out. How bad would it look if the heart and soul of AEW is not there after all of this shit happens this year? The only thing that would drive them away is if they really, really, really do not agree with CM Punk coming back and they want to remove themselves from the situation. Is it going to really hinder them from making the type of money that they can make with AEW? Do they want to stay and help the company grow? It is their creation. It is their mindset. This is what they wanted to go out there and do. They got the backing of Tony Khan. Are they just going to walk away from it? I don't know. I don't see them doing that, but I do see at the same time WWE being as aggressive to get Kenny Omega into their hands and have him join WWE. I don't think that's going to be the case. There are things that we could talk about that would sway Kenny Omega to join WWE. He wants to wrestle AJ Styles. It's been very apparent. He's mentioned it several times in interviews. He wants to main event to WrestleMania. He wants to go and do that before his career is over. If that is what he wants to do, now is the best time to do that. You know, when he is 5 years older from now, is WWE still going to be interested in Kenny Omega? Is Kenny Omega still going to be able to do what Kenny Omega does best 5 years from now? I don't know. But AEW needs to be aggressive because everything that's happening this year is legitimately happening in a landmark year for them. They do not want to be without their EVPs. They do not want to be without the brainchild of All Elite Wrestling. It would be a terrible, terrible, terrible look for the company. And if they go to the WWE, if they go sign with Vince, what does that say about the rest of the roster? If the EVPs, Cody, Kenny, Matt, Nick, all end up with WWE, what is that going to say to the other top stars in AEW who basically, you know, think to themselves, well, I want to stay here, but if the heart and soul of AEW just gets up and leaves and is taking a chance on themselves in WWE, it might not be as bad over there as people are, you know, talking about. So that could lead to a Wardlow, a Jade Cargill, a MJF going over there. You never know. That's what WWE wants. They want that doubt to creep into the AEW locker room. Hey, come on over. Come on over here. It's not as bad as people are talking about. It's not as bad as people think it is. Come on over. Look at our guy, Cody. You know, the same thing could happen to you over there. MJF, come on over. Ricky Starks, come on over. That's what they're thinking. But I do think AEW will end up keeping Omega, Matt, and Nick Jackson, and Adam Page is also in contract negotiations. They're all going to be paid. As soon as AEW is paid from Warner Brothers Discovery, AEW is going to end up paying their top talent, and I do think that they will stay with AEW. The only thing, like I said, that will keep them from staying is if they really, really, really do not agree with CM Punk being brought back to the company. Anyway, guys, I'm getting out of here. I appreciate you guys very much for joining me on this Saturday afternoon. I will have more news going into Sunday right here on the podcast. Please hit that thumbs up. Let's try for 1,000 likes minimum right here on OTS. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. And go out and check the other videos on the channel. Everything you need is on the homepage if you want more content from the channel. Guys, I'll see you back Sunday with more news and rumors right here on OTS.